I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who would cheat. I had a loving husband, a comfortable home, and a life that looked perfect from the outside. But beneath the surface, there was a hunger, a restless, aching need that Mark couldn't satisfy anymore. We'd been married for 10 years, and somewhere along the way, the passion had faded into routine. Then came Daniel. He was everything Mark wasn't: bold, unpredictable, and dangerously attentive. It started innocently enough, just casual conversations at the gym where he worked as a personal trainer. His smile was electric, and the way his eyes lingered on me sent shivers down my spine. One day, he offered to help me with my form, his hands guiding my hips, his breath warm against my neck. I should have pulled away, but I didn't. The thrill of his touch was intoxicating. Soon, our workouts became longer, our talks more intimate. He'd whisper things no one had ever said to me before, things that made my pulse race and my body ache. I knew it was wrong, but the more I resisted, the stronger the pull became. Then came the day he invited me to his apartment under the pretense of showing me some new training techniques. The moment the door closed behind us, the air between us crackled with tension. He didn't bother with excuses this time. His lips crashed into mine, his hands roaming my body with a possessiveness that left me breathless. Every touch was fire, every kiss a sin I couldn't resist. The way he undressed me, slow and deliberate, like he was savoring every inch, made me feel desired in a way I'd forgotten was possible. The weight of his body pressing into mine, the way he whispered my name like a prayer, it was everything I'd been missing. After that, there was no turning back. We met in secret, in cheap motels, in his car, anywhere we could steal moments away from the world. Each time was more reckless than the last, the risk only fueling our hunger. I'd come home to Mark, his kisses feeling hollow compared to Daniel's, his touch leaving me cold. The guilt gnawed at me, but the addiction was stronger. Daniel knew exactly how to unravel me, how to make me forget everything but the way he made me feel. But secrets have a way of unraveling, and the closer we got, the harder it became to hide. The lies piled up, the excuses grew thinner, and I knew it was only a matter of time before everything came crashing down. Yet, even as the fear of discovery clawed at me, I couldn't stay away. Daniel had become my drug, and I was too far gone to quit. The thrill of the forbiddance, the way he worshipped my body, it was a high I couldn't give up. But nothing lasts forever, and the day I'd both dreaded and secretly longed for finally came. The weeks turned into months, and my double life became a twisted dance of desire and deceit. Mark remained oblivious, his trust in me unwavering, which only made the guilt cut deeper. But Daniel knew exactly how to make the guilt disappear with just a touch. Our encounters grew bolder, more reckless. One evening, after a particularly tense argument with Mark about how distant I'd become, I stormed out, claiming I needed air. Instead, I drove straight to Daniel's apartment, my body trembling with anger and need. He answered the door shirtless, his muscles glistening from a recent shower, and the moment he saw my face, he smirked like he already knew why I was there. Without a word, he pulled me inside, his mouth crashing onto mine, his hands gripping my hips hard enough to leave bruises. I didn't care. I wanted the bruises. I wanted the pain, the pleasure, the shame, all of it. He backed me against the wall, his fingers tangling in my hair as he kissed down my neck, his teeth grazing my skin just enough to make me whimper. "You're mine tonight," he growled, and I didn't argue. He carried me to his bedroom, throwing me onto the mattress with a roughness that sent a thrill through me. There was no tenderness, no hesitation, just raw, unfiltered need. He stripped me bare, his hands and mouth exploring every inch of me, like he was memorizing my body for the last time. And then he took me hard and fast, his fingers digging into my thighs as he pushed me to the edge over and over again. I screamed his name, my nails raking down his back, my legs shaking as he dragged out every last drop of pleasure until I was nothing but a trembling, breathless mess beneath him. Afterward, as I lay there panting, he traced idle circles on my stomach and murmured, "You're addicted to this, aren't you?" I didn't answer, but we both knew the truth. I was, and that terrified me. The next morning, I slipped back home before Mark woke up, my body still humming from the night before. But as I stood in the shower, trying to wash away the scent of Daniel's cologne, the weight of what I was doing crashed down on me. I was risking everything, my marriage, my reputation, my sanity, for a man who might not even care about me beyond the thrill of the chase. But then my phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. "I need to see you again, tonight." And just like that, the guilt dissolved into anticipation. That night, I told Mark one was meeting a girlfriend for drinks. He kissed me goodbye, none the wiser, while I drove to a secluded hotel on the outskirts of town where Daniel was waiting. He had rented a room, and when I stepped inside, the air was thick with the scent of expensive whiskey and his signature cologne. He was leaning against the dresser, wearing nothing but low-slung jeans, his gaze dark and predatory. "You came," he said, as if there had ever been any doubt. I didn't answer. Instead, I crossed the room and kissed him, my hands immediately going for his belt. He chuckled against my lips, his fingers threading through my hair as he let me take control for about 3 seconds. Then he spun me around, pressing my back against his chest, his mouth on my neck as his hands slipped under my dress. "You're wearing too many clothes," he murmured, his fingers already working my panties down my thighs. I gasped as he touched me, his fingers skilled and relentless, his other hand sliding up to tease my nipples through the thin fabric of my dress. "Daniel," I moaned, but he shushed me, his breath hot in my ear. "Don't talk, just feel." And I did. God, I did. He made me come right there, standing up, my legs shaking so badly I would have collapsed if he hadn't been holding me. Then he turned me around, his eyes burning into mine as he slowly lowered himself to his knees. The sight of him like that powerful, dominant Daniel on his knees for me sent a fresh wave of heat through my body. He hooked my legs over his shoulders and devoured me like a man starved, his tongue licking and teasing until I was gripping the dresser for dear life, my moans filling the room. When I came again, screaming his name, he didn't give me a second to recover. He stood, stripped off his jeans, and lifted me onto the dresser, pushing my thighs apart with a possessiveness that made my breath hitch. "Look at me," he demanded as he thrust into me, his grip bruising on my hips. I obeyed, my eyes locking onto his as he moved inside me, each stroke deeper, harder, more punishing than the last. It was overwhelming, intoxicating, and I clung to him, my fingers digging into his shoulders as he took me to the edge again and again. When we finally collapsed onto the bed, sweaty and spent, he pulled me against his chest, his heartbeat steady under my ear. For a moment, it almost felt like love. But then he said, "You know, this can't last forever, right?" And just like that, the fantasy shattered. I stiffened in his arms, but he tightened his grip, his voice low and rough. "I'm not talking about ending it. I'm talking about what happens when Mark finds out." The thought sent a chill down my spine, because he was right. This couldn't last. But I wasn't ready to let go. Not yet. So I kissed him instead, pouring every ounce of desperation and desire into it, and for a little while longer, I let myself forget about the consequences. The days blurred together after that, a haze of stolen moments, whispered lies, and desperate touches. Daniel was right. This couldn't last, but neither of us was strong enough to stop. Every time I swore it would be the last, he'd send me a text, just a single word, like "tonight" or "need you," and I'd cave, my body responding before my mind could protest. One afternoon, while Mark was at work, Daniel showed up unannounced at my house. I should have been furious at the risk, but the sight of him leaning against his car, sunglasses hiding those knowing eyes, made my pulse spike. I let him in, my fingers already fumbling with his belt before the door even closed behind us. He pinned me against the wall, his mouth hot and demanding, his hands rough as they pushed up my skirt. There was no patience left between us, just hunger. He took me right there in the hallway, my back pressed to the wall, my legs wrapped around his waist as he drove into me with a force that left me gasping. I bit into his shoulder to muffle my moans, my nails scoring down his back as he whispered filthy promises in my ear. When we finished, he didn't linger. Just kissed me once hard and said, "Next time, I want you on your knees." Then he was gone, leaving me trembling and aching in his wake. But the closer we got, the more reckless he became. He started calling at odd hours, showing up places he shouldn't once. He even brushed past me in a crowded restaurant where Mark and I were having dinner, his fingers trailing over my hip in a way that made me choke on my wine. Mark frowned, asking if I was okay, and all I could do was nod, my skin burning where Daniel had touched me. Then came the night that changed everything. Mark was away on a business trip, and Daniel came over, his mood darker than usual. He poured us both a drink, his eyes never leaving mine as he sipped his whiskey. "I'm tired of sharing you," he said finally, his voice low. I laughed, thinking he was joking, but his grip on my wrist tightened. "I mean it. Leave him." The demand hung between us, heavy and dangerous. I pulled away, shaking my head. "You know, I can't." Something in his expression shifted something cold. "Then maybe I should make it easier for you." Before I could ask what he meant, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, smirked, and turned the screen toward me. My stomach dropped. It was a photo of us taken through my bedroom window. "What the hell is this?" I whispered, my blood turning to ice. He shrugged. "Insurance." I slapped him, hard. "You're blackmailing me?" He caught my wrist, his grip bruising. "I'm making sure you don't walk away." For the first time since this began, I was afraid of him. The man I'd been sleeping with for months wasn't just reckless, he was dangerous. I yanked free, my voice shaking. "Get out." He laughed, but not before dropping one last threat. "This isn't over." The second the door closed, I collapsed, my legs giving out. I had no idea what to do. If those photos got out, my marriage was over. But if I stayed, what would Daniel demand next? That's when Mark called. "Hey, babe," he said, his voice warm. "Miss you. Flight's delayed, but I'll be home by morning." Tears burned my eyes. "I miss you too," I whispered. And for the first time in months, I meant it. The next few days were a nightmare of paranoia and dread. Every time my phone buzzed, my stomach clenched, terrified it was Daniel with another threat. I deleted our messages, blocked his number, even considered changing mine, but deep down, I knew it wouldn't matter. He had the photos. He had power over me now. I barely slept, jumping at every noise, imagining him outside my house, watching me through the window like he had before. Mark noticed my exhaustion, of course. "You've been so tense lately," he murmured one night, rubbing my shoulders as we sat on the couch. His touch, once so comforting, now felt like a weight. I forced a smile. "Just work stress." He kissed my temple, so trusting, so oblivious, and the guilt twisted like a knife in my gut. 3 days later, the first photo arrived. Not to me, to Mark. An anonymous email with a grainy but unmistakable shot of Daniel pressing me against his car, my skirt hiked up, his mouth on my neck. Mark's face went pale as he stared at his phone, his hands shaking. "What the hell is this?" he demanded, shoving the screen in my face. My throat closed. There was no lying my way out of this one. "Mark, He didn't let me finish." He threw his phone across the room, the screen shattering against the wall, and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. I crumpled to the floor, sobbing, but the worst part of me was relieved the secret was finally out. I didn't hear from Mark for 2 days. He stayed at a hotel, ignoring my calls and texts. Daniel, on the other hand, wouldn't stop contacting me. New number, new threats. "You should have chosen me," he texted. "Now you lose everything." I wanted to scream, to rage at him for ruining my life, but I was too broken. Then, on the third day, Mark came home. He looked exhausted, his eyes red-rimmed, but his voice was steady. "We need to talk." What followed was the hardest conversation of my life. I confessed everything, the loneliness, the temptation, the way Daniel made me feel alive in a way I hadn't in years. Mark listened in silence, his jaw clenched, his fists tight. When I finished, he just said, "Do you love him?" The question caught me off guard. "No," I whispered. "I love you. I just forgot how to." Mark exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know if I can forgive this," he admitted. "But I'm willing to try if you are." I broke down all over again, clinging to him like a lifeline. As for Daniel, I never saw him again. The photos never went public, whether because he lost interest or some twisted shred of guilt, I'll never know. But the scars remain. Some nights, I still wake up sweating, dreaming of his hands on me, his threats in my ear. Other nights, it's Mark's betrayed eyes haunting me, ... Therapy helps. Time helps more. And Mark? He's still here, fighting for us even when I don't deserve it. Maybe one day, the guilt will fade. Maybe one day, I'll forgive myself. But for now, I take it one day at a time, holding onto the man I almost lost and praying I'm strong enough to never let go again. The weeks that followed were a strange mix of agony and fragile hope. Mark moved back in but slept in the guest room, his presence a constant reminder of what I'd nearly destroyed. Every morning, I'd wake up early to make his coffee just the way he liked it, watching from the kitchen doorway as he drank it in silence, his wedding band glinting in the morning light. We started marriage counseling, sitting stiffly in the therapist's office while I struggled to explain how I could betray the man I loved. "It wasn't about you," I told Mark during one particularly raw session, my voice cracking. "It was about me feeling invisible in my own life." The therapist nodded while Mark stared at our joined hands, his thumb unconsciously rubbing over the spot where his ring had been. He'd taken it off after discovering my affair. Daniel's ghost haunted us. Sometimes when Mark touched me, I'd flinch before realizing it was my husband's hands on me, not my lover's. The differences were painfully obvious now. Where Daniel had been all rough passion and demanding touches, Mark was tender, hesitant, like he was relearning my body. Our first time having sex after everything happened was awkward and emotional, both of us crying afterward for very different reasons. I kept waiting for Mark to rage at me, to punish me, but his quiet disappointment was worse. "I miss us," he confessed one night, and the simple honesty of that shattered me. Work became my escape until the day Daniel showed up at my office. He looked different, harder, angrier, and cornered me in the parking garage. "You think you can just walk away from me?" he hissed, backing me against my car. His familiar cologne mixed with the scent of whiskey, and for one terrifying moment, I thought he might hit me. Instead, he kissed me, brutal and possessive, and God help me, my body responded even as my mind screamed no. When he pulled away, smirking at my trembling lips, he dropped a bombshell. "I'm leaving the city. But this isn't over." As he walked away, I slid down against my car, wiping his taste from my mouth with a shaking hand. That night, I told Mark everything, watching his face cycle through hurt, anger, then grim determination. He surprised me by pulling me into a fierce hug. "We'll get through this," he muttered into my hair, and for the first time in months, I believed him. The next morning, we filed a restraining order against Daniel together, standing side by side at the police station like partners again. Slowly, painstakingly, we began rebuilding. Mark started wearing his ring again. I deleted every trace of Daniel from my phone, my life, my memory. We took a vacation to the beach where we'd honeymooned, relearning how to laugh together. The sex got better, less careful, more passionate, as trust began regrowing between us. One evening, as we slow danced in our kitchen to a song from our wedding, Mark whispered, "I choose you every day." And I finally understood what real love was, not the dizzying highs of forbidden passion, but the steady burn of commitment. The last I heard, Daniel had moved across the country. Sometimes when the phone rings late at night, my breath still catches. But then Mark's arm tightens around me in sleep, anchoring me to the life we're creating from the ashes of my mistakes, and I remember I'm not that woman anymore. The thrill of secrecy has been replaced by something deeper, the hard-won peace of honesty, the quiet joy of earning back trust day by day. Our marriage isn't perfect, but it's real. And that's enough. The final turning point came on our 10th wedding anniversary, the first major milestone since the affair nearly destroyed us. Mark had planned a surprise weekend at a secluded mountain cabin, the same one where he proposed years earlier. As we drove up the winding roads, the silence between us wasn't uncomfortable anymore, just quiet like the calm after a storm. That first night, sitting by the fireplace with snow falling outside, Mark handed me a small box. Inside was a new wedding band, slightly different from my original one. I had it made with an imperfection in the gold, he explained, his voice rough with emotion, to remind us that broken things can still be beautiful. I broke down sobbing in his arms that night, finally releasing the last of my guilt. The next morning, I woke to find Mark missing from our bed. Panic shot through me until I saw the note on his pillow. "Meet me outside. Bring warm clothes." I found him waiting by a frozen lake, 2 pairs of ice skates dangling from his hands. We hadn't skated together since our dating days. The ice was rough and uneven, and we fell constantly, laughing like kids as we clung to each other for balance. At one point, Mark pulled me close, our cold noses touching, and whispered, "We're learning how to stand again." The metaphor wasn't lost on me. That afternoon, as sunlight streamed through the cabin windows, we made love slowly, tenderly, no ghosts between us this time. Afterward, tracing the scars on Mark's back from a childhood accident I'd once kissed every night, I realized something profound. Daniel had never seen my scars, literal or metaphorical. He'd only wanted the polished, exciting version of me, but Mark, he saw every cracked piece and loved me anyway. Back home, life settled into a new rhythm. We planted a garden that spring, our hands digging into the earth together, nurturing something that would grow over time. Some nights we still talk about the affair, not with anger now, but with the quiet understanding of survivors. Mark admits he sometimes still pictures Daniel's hands on me, and I admit I occasionally miss the adrenaline of secrecy. But then he'll kiss me in the grocery store for no reason, or I'll catch him smiling at me from across a crowded room, and we remember what nearly slipped away. Last month, we got matching tattoos, a phoenix for him, rising from flames, and a broken vase repaired with gold for me. The Japanese call it kintsugi, the art of embracing flaws. Our marriage counselor says we're her miracle couple, but we know the truth. There were no miracles here, just 2 stubborn people who refused to let go. As I write this, Mark is humming in the kitchen, burning our dinner like he always does. The smell of charred pasta should annoy me, but instead it fills me with gratitude. This is our life now, imperfect, repaired, stronger at the broken places. And when I catch my reflection in the window, I no longer see the woman who betrayed her husband. I see a woman who fought like hell to come home. The phone hasn't rung with an unknown number in months. Daniel is fading like a bad dream in morning light. And Mark, he's real solid here, squeezing my hand 3 times when we walk together, our secret code for I love you, 3 squeezes back. Always.